Hi, my name is Shane. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to show you a few easy ways to record your drum kit. We're going to use some Zoom products. One of them I've been using for years. It is the Zoom h4n. Great little recorder. It's got an XY condenser pair here, 2 XLR inputs. So we're going to use this alone and with some different microphones. Also new to me is the Zoom H6, which is the upgrade. It's got the same kind of setup. It's got a condenser pair up here, a little larger than the h4n, but this one's got 4 inputs. So we're going to use that with some different microphones. On the bass drum, I'm going to have the Shure Beta 52. On the snare drum, the Shure SM57. If you're a drummer doing any kind of recording, these are the first 2 mics you want to get. Beta 52, SM57. All of my vocals today are going to go through my Shure SM58. Also, we're going to try out a large diaphragm condenser, the MXL V67. This is pretty inexpensive. Sounds really nice. And some cheaper Nady mics. I've got the DM70. We're going to try that one out on the rack tom. And I've got the Nady DM80. We're going to try that on the floor tom. So I'll flash up on the screen what I'm using in any given situation. And you can compare what those sound like. Drum set today, Yamaha Stage Custom Birch. And of course, my Saluda cymbals. Snare drum is the Yamaha Dave Weckl signature. So check it out. Going to run through a bunch of different scenarios and different ways you can record your drum set. All right, first setup today is going to be the Zoom h4n, and I'm going to use that in the overhead position. That's basically right here above my head. That should get an entire image of the kit. The kick drum might be a little bit weak because it's pretty far away from it, but everything else should come through. So let's hear what that sounds like. For this setup, I have the Zoom H6 above my head as an overhead, and that's it. Check it out. All right, this setup is going to be the Zoom h4n, but it's out in front of my kit this time. It's about 6 feet away, pointed sort of at the bass drum, so the bass drum should come through a little bit more, but we're probably going to lose a little bit of the snare response. So let's check that one out. All right, now we're going to try the Zoom H6 out front as the stereo pair. It'll probably pick up a little bit more of the bass drum and a little bit less of the snare drum. Check it out. All right, this setup is the Zoom h4n above my head and the Shure Beta 52 inside the kick drum. So let's see how that sounds. I've got the H6 in the overhead position and the Beta 52 inside the kick. We're going to try that out. Also on the H6, unlike the H4n, there's a pad switch, a 20 dB pad switch, and I have that activated so I can turn the gain up a little bit more on there. So we'll see how that does. All right, for this setup, I've got the Zoom H4n as an overhead, the Beta 52 in the kick, and I'm using the MXL V67 as a room mic. It's about 20 feet away from me. I've actually never used this setup, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to sound, but we'll give it a shot. I've got the Zoom H6 in the overhead position, the Beta 52 in the kick, and the MXL as a room mic. It's in the same position as before, and both units will supply phantom power in various voltages, so you should not have a problem there. So let's check this out. All right, now we've got the Zoom H4n as an overhead. I've got the Beta 52 inside the kick and an SM57 on the snare. If you've watched any of my cover videos, this is the setup I've been using for a couple of years, and it works very, very well. What you have to do is run a limiter, or what I do is run a limiter on the overhead signal to kind of compress the snare drum in there. It'll still be pretty loud. Then I boost up the volume to let the cymbals and toms come through, and then I add in the 57 mic to bring the snare back up. If you've got any sort of recorder with a condenser pair and a couple of XLR inputs, you should be able to get a really good result with a couple of good mics. So check it out. Now I've got my favorite standard configuration using the Zoom H6, and that is with that in the overhead position, Beta 52 in the kick, and 57 on the snare. All right, I've added the MXL as a room mic to the previous setup, the kick, snare, and H6, so let's see how that sounds. All right, this setup is basically the reason I bought the H6 in the first place. I have it as an overhead. I've got the Beta 52 in the kick, and I have SM57s on the snare and both of the toms. So here I should be able to adjust the tom volume without messing with the overheads, so that should be very valuable. So let's see how this sounds. All right, so I was looking for a cheap microphone pack that still sounded pretty good that I could use on my hand drum setup. I needed something for underneath the djembe and a couple of mics for the congas, and I found this Nady pack. It's the DM70 2 of those, and I got the DM80, which is for lower frequencies, and that 3-pack I think was only $80. They sound great. I've actually used the DM80 in my kick drum live, and it does pretty good. So I'm going to do the same setup I had before, the Beta 52 and the kick, and the Shure SM57 on the snare. This time I've got the DM70 on the rack tom, the DM80 on the floor tom. So I'm actually sure how this is going to sound, but we will give it a try, and compare that to the 57s all around. One of the cool features of the H6 is, of course, the interchangeable modules. I've been using the stereo XY pair. You can get a shotgun mic. You can also get another module that has 2 XLR inputs on it. This one comes with it. It is called the MS, or mid-side mic, and it picks up a pretty strong signal this way, and then there's a pair that picks up to either side. It's not really used a lot, I don't believe, in drum set recording, but I'm going to try it. I've seen a cool technique with one mic where you put a condenser right here over the bass drum, and it picks up the kick, and the top part of the condenser picks up the rest of the kit. So I'm going to try this in that configuration upside down. So the direct mic will pick up the kick, and the side mics will pick up the rest of the kit. So I have no idea how this is going to work. It might work out great. It might be awful, but let's give it a try. So hopefully some of the things I've shown you today will help you get some good recordings out of your drum set. You do have to spend a little bit of money on some microphones. The Beta 52 and the SM57 from Shure are my preferred ones. Those are some must-haves. There are several other manufacturers that make similar things, so you can try those out. If they've got good reviews and similar specs, you should be good with those. The Zoom is my recorder of choice. However, a bunch of different manufacturers have similar things. As long as they have a stereo condenser pair built in and a couple of XLR input jacks, you shouldn't have any problems with those. I've been using the Hero GoPro White edition for all my video stuff for the past couple years. Have had no problems there. They work in a variety of different environments and are really good. Kind of an industry standard at this point. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will try to answer everything I can. So subscribe to my channel, watch some of my other cover videos, and thanks for your time today.